I died in the first year of marrying Lin Zison in the midst of the fire. I sent him a message. Zison, our house is on fire. He replied coldly, you handle the fire first, I'm in a meeting. I looked at the photo a woman had just sent me and let out a bitter laugh. I died in despair amidst the flames, only for fate to grant me a second chance. I was reborn 10 years in the past. When the teacher seated the new transfer student, Lin Zison, next to me, I raised my hand and said, Teacher, I'd prefer to sit with a girl. 1. Teacher, I'd like to sit with a girl. As the homeroom teacher arranged Lin Zison's seat next to mine, I raised my hand. This action was met with whispers among the classmates. The homeroom teacher tapped the podium, signaling for silence before asking me, why? Because in the first year after marrying me, Lin Zison let me die in a fire so he could be with another woman. Yes, I've been reborn. Reborn on the very day I met Lin Zison 10 years ago, on the day Lin Zison became my deskmate. My heart fluttered just like every other girl in the class. From then on, I embarked on a long journey to pursue him, longing to pluck the stars from the sky for him. In the end, I met such a tragic and gruesome fate. In my next life, I must stay far away from him, because I want to study hard, and he's so good-looking. My self-control is weak, and I'm afraid I'll get distracted. I said this with righteous solemnity. The teacher probably didn't expect me to be so blunt, and she paused for a moment. In the end, I was given a new deskmate. You played that game of cat and mouse well. My new deskmate, Gu Chen-nan, said as he tossed his backpack onto the desk next to mine and raised an eyebrow at me. I tried to recall what I knew about him. I vaguely remember he was a sports student and rarely attended class. What do you mean by playing hard to get? Gu Chen-nan sat down beside me, tilting his head to look at Lin Zison, who was surrounded by girls. You like that guy? I was stunned. I followed his gaze. Lin Zison sat at his desk, his back ramrod straight in a white dress shirt. He still looked exactly as I remembered him, just as I'd liked him back then. I don't like this, I said, quickly averting my eyes and starting to gather the books on my desk. Gu Chen-nan suddenly turned back and leaned in close to me. He stared at me for a long time. Just as I frowned, he said, you're lying. The eyes of someone in love don't lie. 2. Gu Chen-nan was right. I still have feelings for Lin Zison. I knew at the moment I saw him standing at the podium, but that's just a lingering flicker of affection, a habit left over from 10 years of liking him. I love myself more. Gu Chen-nan really was a student athlete. He'd only show up for maybe 2 classes a day, so most of the time, the seat next to me was empty. It really made what I said on the first day of school come true. I started studying seriously, and my crush on Lin Zison and my focus on him genuinely faded. After 1 semester, my grades had somehow climbed to second place right behind Lin Zison. For a moment, I became the most compatible match for Lin Zison in the eyes of my classmates. What are you afraid of? She doesn't like Lin Zison at all. The students in their class all say they can't stand each other. This was what I overheard in the bathroom during the break. A faint sob came from the next room. The person speaking continued, don't worry. With your looks, Lin Zison will eventually fall for you. Really gentle and thoughtful. By the way, I heard that Song Jia likes Gu Chen-nan. The crying suddenly stopped, and a soft female voice asked, really, you don't believe it either, do you? Even someone like Gu Chen-nan has admirers. I couldn't take it anymore, so I pulled up my pants and stood up. I don't like Lin Zison. I kicked open the door of the next stall, addressing the 2 startled people inside. But I don't like Gu Chen-nan either. The 2 of them were too scared to speak. I turned to leave but then stopped. Besides, Gu Chen-nan is not that kind of person. He's a million times better than Lin Zison. After saying that, I left the bathroom without looking back. As soon as I returned to the classroom, I saw Gu Chen-nan already seated, who wasn't there during the last class. He twirled the pen in his hand and raised an eyebrow at me. Oh, who got you upset? I shook my head. At the very least, he wouldn't just stand by and watch me burn to death. 3. Lin Zison and I were both chosen as school representatives to compete in the citywide speech contest. Thanks to our excellent grades and good looks throughout the journey, I went out of my way to avoid being alone with him. It wasn't until backstage at the speech contest that he stood behind me and quietly asked, I've always wondered, why do you dislike me so much? I didn't expect him to initiate a conversation with me. Song Jia. Seeing that I didn't respond, he called my name. This was the first time I'd heard him call my name since my rebirth. It sounded truly wonderful. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and only then turned to look at him. I hate people who are both good-looking and get top grades. He paused for a moment, then suddenly burst out laughing. This reason doesn't hold up, he said, smiling at me. You're just like that too. No one hates themselves. In his previous life, he had never looked at me and smiled like this. Not even at our wedding, and he was wrong. There are people who dislike themselves. Next, let's welcome Song Jia from No. 2 Middle School to give a speech. Before I could say anything else, the host announced my name. I straightened my back, took the microphone, and walked up to the podium. Fortunately, I really like who I am now. I used to always chase after Lin Zisun, never having stepped onto such a big stage before. Only after being reborn did I realize that besides Lin Zisun, there are many other things I should pursue. Hey, isn't this my old desk mate? As soon as I exited the lecture venue, I ran into Gu Chennan. He glanced at Lin Zisun behind me and then looked at me with a meaningful expression. What are you doing here? Afraid he'd say something inappropriate, I quickly stepped forward, grabbed his arm, and pulled him away. As he let me drag him along, he glanced back at Lin Zisun, who was reaching out, and asked me with a casual, teasing tone, feeling guilty, are we? I shot him a glare. Guilty, my foot, you've come at just the right time. I don't want to go back with Lin Zisun, for Gu Chennan is a member of the swimming team. I sat in the vast gymnasium, watching him compete for the first time. He stood on the diving platform in his swim trunks, looking over at me from a distance. I thought I saw a mischievous expression on his face as a gunshot rang out and he plunged into the water. It was only then that I realized he seemed even better looking than Lin Zisun. Most importantly, he had the chest and abdominal muscles that Lin Zisun lacked. Only 17 years old. Yet you built such a solid foundation. My mind was wandering with all sorts of random thoughts, and by the time I snapped back to reality, Gu Chennan had already swum to the finish line first. He gave me a roguish wave. He's a million times better than Lin Zisun. After my speech, word spread fast about how I ditched Lin Zisun to go watch Gu Chennan's match and then came back to school with him. Lin Zisun's fan club is giving me less and less grief, but I forgot, Gu Chennan was no pushover either. Are you Song Jia? I was blocked on my way home from school. The way the group in front of me was dressed, they were clearly troublemakers. I lied through my teeth. No, I'm not. The girl in the lead asked the one beside her, did we get it wrong? While they were still talking, Lin Zisun called out to me from not far away, Song Jia, he's insane, he's completely unhinged, wasn't killing me in our last life enough. You're back for more this time. The girl at the front let out a scornful laugh. You dare lie to me, she said, taking 2 steps toward me. I took 2 steps back. Lin Zisun also sensed something was off and walked over to me. What are you doing? He chided softly. Brother, isn't that just going to make them angrier? The leader girl glanced back at him, raising an eyebrow. Got a bodyguard too? What a load of nonsense about being a bodyguard. Soon, Lin Zisun and I were cornered against the wall. What do you want? Just as I thought we were about to get beaten up, a cocky voice came from above me. The moment I looked up, I saw Gu Chennan jump down from the top of the wall. Chennan, the girl at the front said, sounding a bit embarrassed. Gu Chennan glanced at her. You know I don't hit girls. That's exactly why so many girls at school didn't like Gu Chennan. He's a troublemaker who knows how to fight at a top-tier high school. That's not exactly something to be proud of. Next time you mess with my deskmate like that, Gu Chennan said, slinging his backpack over his shoulder as he walked toward me. I can't make any promises. After hearing that, the whole group scattered without daring to say another word. Take a look at them now. That's a true gentleman. 5. After all, I did save you. Aren't you going to thank me? Gu Chennan walked leisurely behind me, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his tone carrying a hint of displeasure. His displeasure wasn't directed at me. When I turned around, I saw him and Lin Zisun behind me, both having stopped in their tracks simultaneously. Lin Zisun's slightly furrowed brow also showed his displeasure. I know him well. He's always disliked guys like Gu Chennan, but it doesn't concern me anymore. Gu Chennan, thank you today. I took over Gu Chennan's words to Lin Zisun. I need to go home early, so I'll take my leave first. The 2 tense individuals turned to look at me upon hearing my words. I'll see you off. They spoke almost in unison. Song Jia, this is your award certificate from the speech competition. Lin Zisun slightly frowned, glancing at Gu Chennan before handing me the certificate. I'm worried someone might cause trouble for you later, so I'll see you home. I took the certificate. Before I could even utter the word, no need, I heard Gu Chennan let out a derisive snort. He strode over to my side in a few steps and slung an arm around my shoulders. Class monitor Lin, you should worry about protecting yourself first. Then, with a roguish grin, he raised an eyebrow at me. Come on, I'll be your protector. My irritation instantly melted away as he made me laugh. I jabbed an elbow into his stomach, broke free, and started walking home, waving a hand over my shoulder without looking back. No need, I'm no delicate queen, I've got plenty of tricks and strength of my own. Gu Chennan's booming laughter followed me from behind. I couldn't help but smile, perhaps influenced by his laughter. The disgust and irritation brought on by Lin Zisun's proximity had vanished just Like that, there's nothing wrong with being a bit of a rascal. I was the one who got led astray by Lindsayson. 6. I woke up to find my home engulfed in flames. Terrified, I scrambled out of bed to escape, only to discover the front door was completely blocked by fire. In the end, I had no choice but to grab a wet towel and take refuge on the balcony. To my surprise, I received a message right after I hung up the call to 119. It was a photo of Lindsayson with a disheveled woman. As I looked at the photo on my phone, it felt like all the blood in my body had frozen, and the fear that had gripped me was suddenly washed away like a bucket of ice water. Zisson, there's a fire at home. I sent a message to Lindsayson, who shouldn't have been at work today since he said he didn't like me calling him while he was working. I never called him. Even now, I still instinctively sent a text message. A while later, I finally got a reply. You handle the fire first. I'm in a meeting. A meeting. I looked at the photo on my phone and let out a bitter, incredulous laugh. A wall of fire rushed toward me, and in the distance, I thought I could hear the faint wail of fire engine sirens. Suddenly, someone opened the door from the outside. A blinding shaft of light pierced the darkness. Songjia, if you don't get up now, you're going to be late. I opened my eyes and saw my mom standing by the bed, looking like she couldn't do anything about it. The emotions from the dream hadn't faded yet, and as soon as I sat up, I hugged her tightly. Mom, I had a nightmare, a really, really scary one. Mom patted my back gently and said, sleeping in gives you nightmares, serves you right for being lazy. Mom, I'm not a kid anymore. Oh dear, you're not so easy to fool anymore. I let out a snort of laughter. Thank goodness that whole scene was just a dream. After my mom's little commotion, I felt much better. I obediently got up, washed up, ate breakfast, and headed out to school. I just never expected to see Gu Chen-nan the moment I stepped out of our neighborhood. Gu Chen-nan nonchalantly spat out his bubblegum and gave me a wave. What a coincidence. You live in this complex. I nodded and kept walking. Do you live here too? He shook his head and ambled along behind me. I live up ahead, so I have to pass by here. 7. Lindsayson is sick, and I'm not joking. Songjia, do you know how to solve this problem? A break between classes, Lindsayson suddenly came over to my desk. You startled me. Last night's dream is still vivid in my mind. I don't want to lay eyes on him ever again. My hand didn't pause in solving the problem as I said flatly, no, I can't. How would you know you can't if you didn't even look? He had truly never done this before. I put down my pen, looking at the problem in his hand with a helpless sigh. Oh, it's the problem I just finished. No, I don't, I replied calmly, turning the page of the workbook that contained the problem. After Lindsayson left, I turned my head and saw Gu Chen-nan lying on the desk with his eyes open. Sunlight streamed in through the window, falling perfectly on his smiling eyes. Not only was his personality completely different from Lindsayson's, but his good looks were of an entirely different kind, full of vitality. What are you laughing at? I asked him. He blinked. I just think you're doing a great job with this playing hard to get tactic. It's not even been a year, and he's already come running back to you. I snatched up my workbook and smacked him on the head with it. If you dare say that again, I'll rip your mouth off, I snarled, shaking my fist at him. All I got in return was his brazen, unrestrained laughter. His laughter was loud enough to draw the attention of the entire class. In a moment of panic, I lunged forward and covered his mouth. Only when he stopped laughing did I realize my mistake and quickly let him go. But then he suddenly leaned in, staring intently into my eyes. Just as I was about to punch him in the face, he grinned and slumped back onto the table. That wasn't a lie this time. It seems I really don't like him anymore. 8. I stopped liking him a long time ago. Even after a decade of affection, all that remained upon my rebirth was a flicker of habitual fondness, and that faint, insignificant flicker was long ago extinguished, worn away by one recurring nightmare after another. Now, all I want is to put distance between us, more and more distance ideally. Once the college entrance exams are over, we should never meet again. Do you want to go to City S? Gu Chen-nan walked beside me, a bit surprised by my answer. Why? Because I like it. In my previous life, I didn't fill out a single application for City S just to follow Lindsayson to City B. Because I like it. I looked down at the shadow under the streetlight. I heard it's free there. Gu Chen-nan was tall, but the streetlight made his shadow shrink into a small clump. Kind of funny. S City's not bad, he said, kicking a pebble by his feet, his voice carrying a hint of happiness I couldn't quite place. When we reached the entrance of my neighborhood, I said goodbye to him and then asked, "You really live up ahead?" He was slightly taken aback. Then he said nonchalantly, "Yeah, why don't you come along?" No way. I grabbed my backpack and hurried inside. Later, I thought about it carefully. The reason I never ran into him in my previous life was probably because I was completely focused on following Lindsayson around. Doesn't take others seriously, let alone Gu Chin Nan, who was the least favored by Linzison. Not long after, the semester ended, and Gu Chin Nan and I stopped walking to and from school together. The new semester of senior year has arrived, and it's time to change seats again. The teacher stood at the podium and said, as if it were nothing, Linzison and Gu Chin Nan, switch seats. I was working on an exercise when I froze, caught off guard. Gu Chin Nan immediately raised his hand. I'm not switching. He was always slacking off and often absent from class, so the teachers weren't exactly fond of him. The teacher frowned and asked with displeasure, why won't you change it? I like to bask in the sun, said Gu Chin Nan as he opened the window. The sunlight outside was just right. It fell upon him, making his entire person appear exceptionally radiant. Linzison, sitting on the other side, also looked over at me from afar, as if he was determined to take Gu Chin Nan's seat. I also raised my hand. Teacher, the class monitor is doing well academically, and many students ask him questions during breaks. I'm afraid it might affect other students' questions and also impact both the class monitors and my studies. The implication is that Linzison sitting alone is the best option. The teacher thought about it and agreed that what I said made sense. In the end, I switched Gu Chin Nan with the girl sitting behind him. Gu Chin Nan was very pleased with the outcome, and he winked at me while balancing his desk on his head. As long as you're not sitting with Linzison, it doesn't matter who you sit with. 9. The pressure of studying in the third year of high school is intense. Even though it's my second time going through it, I still occasionally feel suffocated by the pressure. Gu Chin Nan's training is getting more frequent, and he spends less and less time in the classroom. However, discussions about him are increasing. The girls who initially looked down on Gu Chin Nan began to change their minds one after another as he kept winning competition after competition. Apart from being bad at studying and having a bad temper, he doesn't really have any other flaws. This was the conclusion my new desk mate, Bai Kuer, came to when discussing gossip about him with me. My hand didn't stop writing as I added, he actually has a pretty good temper. Bai Kuer was caught off guard by my response to the gossip and leaned in without thinking. I also heard you like him. Is that true? That rumor is ancient history. I stopped writing and looked at her with a sigh. No, of course I don't like him. Don't listen to their gossip. Just then, a bottle of water was placed on the corner of my desk. I turned and saw Gu Chin Nan, a faint sheen of sweat on his temples. It was a bit awkward. After we stared at each other for a few seconds, I lowered my gaze to the water bottle on the corner of the table. How much for the water? I'll pay you back. Gu Chin Nan seemed upset. He didn't take my money for the water, nor did he say a word to me. After he had slept through the entire class with his head on the desk, Linzison arrived. Linzison placed a form on my desk and said softly, the teacher wants you to enter this competition. It's to secure a recommendation for direct admission for you. It would be a lie to say I wasn't excited when I heard the words direct admission. I took the form without asking any questions, never expecting that I would be competing with Linzison. Would you not come if you knew I was coming? Linzison asked me as he sat beside me in the training class. I glanced up at him. Now I can look at him calmly. How could that be? I politely moved a bit further away. Being recommended is still very important, far more important than you. I'm not sure if it was my action that was too obvious, or if my words were too cold. Linzison's smile stiffened for a moment. I ignored him and started getting ready for class. When I finished the problems and class was over, I looked up and saw Gu Chin Nan standing outside the classroom. He was a far cry from his old self now, and quite a few girls went up to talk to him. Do you like that type? Seeing me look at Gu Chin Nan outside, Linzison, sitting next to me, also glanced over. He said in a flat, emotionless tone. I turned to look at him and replied firmly, I just don't like people like you. 10. What are you doing here? I asked Gu Chin Nan, who was walking beside me. Don't tell me you're just passing by again. He reached out and patted my head. That's the gymnasium next door. Didn't you know? I instinctively turned to look, and sure enough, it was a gymnasium. Do you train this late every day? I had come to the cram school after regular classes, so it was already quite late. You think winning a championship is that easy? He gave me a roguish wink. The way he said it so casually made it seem like he'd won it effortlessly. I nodded with a smile. All right. Would the champion do me the honor of letting me buy him these wontons? Forgive my sins of the day. Wontons. I gestured with my chin toward a small roadside stall. Gu Chin Nan also looked over at the wonton stall, a smile touching his eyes. Well then, this champion will grant you the opportunity. Just as the wontons hadn't arrived yet, a woman appeared. The woman was wearing a red long dress, her makeup meticulously done, and she stood opposite Gu Chin Nan in high heels. Chin Nan, her voice was soft and gentle. Gu Chin Nan looked up at her, and the smile on his lips instantly vanished. That woman looked somewhat familiar. but I couldn't for the life of me remember who she was. I looked at the bowl of wonton soup in front of me, originally meant for Gu Nan, and let out a sigh. Seems my sins run deep. I can't even manage to give away a bowl of wonton soup. Ever since Gu Nan left with that woman that night, I hadn't seen hide nor hair of him for days. I saw him again at the entrance of my residential complex. He stood there alone, a stark contrast to his usual vibrant self. Gu Nan. I called out to him. He looked up at me, and a spark of light flickered in his indifferent eyes. I thought you got kidnapped or something. I haven't seen you in so long. I tried to lighten the heavy atmosphere around him with a joke. It seemed to work. He slightly curved his lips into a smile and gave my head a playful pat. Can't you think of something better about me? 11. Gu Nan was injured. I pointed at the small strip of gauze peeking out from his leg. What happened here? He also looked down at his leg and then tugged at his pant leg. A sharp intake of breath escaped him, likely from pulling at the wound, but he still insisted stubbornly. It's nothing. It's only been a few days. How did you end up like this? I lifted the leg of his pants. Frowning at the bandage wrapped around his leg, he took hold of my hand and let out a soft chuckle. I looked up at him, puzzled, only for him to lean his head down toward mine. His face was so close to mine, uncomfortably close, so close that his breath made my whole face flush with heat. So concerned about me, he raised a roguish eyebrow, a bold smile playing on his lips. You're not falling for me, are you? I was startled. Me. I pulled my hand free from his and quickly stood up from the chair. What nonsense are you talking about, Songjia? He looked up at me, his eyes no longer like they were when he was waiting for me at the entrance to the residential complex. It was as if he had gathered all the stars from the sky into them, making them sparkle brilliantly. I told you, the eyes never lie. Without a second thought, I instinctively turned my back. Gu Nan, if you dare to shoot your mouth off, I'll tear it right off your face. I spat the words out venomously, then ran straight home without looking back. Gu Nan had a mouth with no filter. He was used to running his mouth. I should have been used to it by now. I shouldn't have reacted so strongly today. At this thought, I turned over in bed and decided not to think about it anymore. Yes, I couldn't sleep. It's all Gu Nan's fault for running his mouth all day long. I stared at Gu Nan, who was waiting at the entrance of the community, with dark circles under my eyes. He seemed to be in a great mood, waving at me. Good morning. Not good at all. I ignored him and kept walking. Because his leg was injured, he couldn't train for a while and had to stay in class. The girls in the class are now divided into two groups. One team was with Lin Zison, the other with Gu Nan. I raised my hand to rub my temple, only to hear Gu Nan's impatient voice. I'm trying to sleep. Keep it down. Still, his approach was better than Lin Zison's. I pressed my lips together, a bit happy. 12. The results of the competition came out quickly. Lin Zison still came in first as usual, and I came in second. The teacher was very happy and said he wanted to treat us two to a meal. I was about to say no, but I squeezed the trophy in my hand and agreed. Songjia. As soon as I walked into the restaurant, Lin Zison waved at me. I sighed and walked in slowly. Hasn't the teacher arrived yet? I sat down across from Lin Zison. He kindly poured me a cup of water. He might be delayed by something. I nodded. Then I slowly poured the water he had poured into my cup into a bowl, rinsed the bowl, and then rinsed the chopsticks. Could you pour this out for me? Thank you. I politely stopped the waiter and handed over the bowl of water. Lin Zison poured the water for me, and I was afraid to drink it for fear of bad luck. Seeing my actions, he didn't get angry either. Instead, he calmly followed suit and rinsed his bowls and chopsticks. Truly worthy of being the top one. Never put myself in an awkward situation. This time, if we get the recommendation, we can continue to be in the same school. Lin Zison looked up at me while rinsing the dishes. I was stunned. In my previous life, I would have been so happy that I'd wake up laughing in my dreams. In the end, I could only get into a university that wasn't too far from him. Is there really only one spot for direct admission? I asked with a smile. Then I think I'll try taking the entrance exam. The impact of those words must have been significant, as his expression froze for a moment, pretending not to notice his discomfort. I glanced down at my watch. It's been so long. I'll leave first if the teacher doesn't come. I grabbed my backpack and left. After just a few steps out of the restaurant, Lin Zison grabbed me. I don't get it. He was a bit frustrated. What exactly do you dislike about me? I turned back to look at him under the streetlight. He didn't seem so lofty anymore, pulling me along just as I had done to him countless times. Lin Zison. I broke free from his hand and asked him, you don't like me, do you? 13. I told you Lin Zison was messed up. In my past life, I followed him around every single day, practically ready to pluck the stars from the sky for him, and he couldn't even be bothered to spare me a second glance. Now that I can't even be bothered to look at him, he suddenly decides he's into me. totally messed up, said Gu Chen-nan, the injured guy sitting next to me during PE class. I turned my head to look at him. He pointed at Lin Zisun running on the track and said, look at him, he's running like he's completely drained, must be kidney deficiency. Pfft. I spat out the water I'd just taken a sip of. Why do you hate him so much? I asked Gu Chen-nan as I screwed the cap back on my bottle. It seemed like he'd harbored a strong animosity towards Lin Zisun from the very beginning. I remember, in my past life, the two of them barely had any interaction either. Gu Chen-nan glanced at me, stood up from the steps, and brushed the dust off his hands as he walked in the other direction. Because he deserves to be hated, that's as good as saying nothing. Before PE class was even over, Baikuer came over and sat down beside me. You know what, something big happened, she started gossiping. As soon as she sat down, ever since she sat next to me, I've been in the loop about all the gossip in class. What's the big deal? Chu Tianhui's mom went to the principal's office. I frowned. Who's Chu Tianhui? That name rings a bell. Don't you remember? That senior who was 2 years ahead of us, super rich, got chauffeured around in luxury cars every day. Oh, right. I think I remember him now. I vaguely remember there was someone like that in high school. I only ever caught a distant glimpse of them back in freshman year. Haven't we been graduated for over a year now? What's his mom doing at the school? Baikuer looked around, then leaned in and whispered in my ear. When I passed by the principal's office just now, I overheard them saying that Gu Chen-nan is Chu Tianhui's father's illegitimate son. Chu Tianhui's mother is making a scene with the principal right now, demanding that Gu Chen-nan be expelled. How could this happen? My eyes widened as I looked at Baikuer. Are you sure you heard that right? Absolutely certain. Suddenly, the image of that glamorous woman with Gu Chen-nan that day flashed into my mind, and then it hit me. With his incredible swimming talent, how come I never heard about him winning any competitions after that? What happened to Gu Chen-nan in the previous life? 14. The news that Gu Chen-nan was a love child spread quickly. When I heard my classmates discussing it, I immediately looked at Baikuer. She shook her head. You're the only one I've told. I glanced over at Gu Chen-nan's spot with some concern. It was empty. He must have heard those vile rumors too. Song Jia, go get something for me. Just as I was about to look for Gu Chen-nan, the chemistry teacher at the door stopped me. The chemistry lab is in another building. As I walked in, the class bell rang. While thinking I could only look for Gu Chen-nan after this class, I searched for the teaching apparatus the chemistry teacher needed. Suddenly, there was a slap sound from behind. When I turned around, I saw a small flame spring up not far away. Ever since that big fire, I haven't been able to face flames. I even keep my distance from the gas stove at home. Seeing that flame grow stronger and stronger, my legs gave way and I collapsed right onto the ground. Help, somebody, help, help. I was trembling all over, crying and pleading for help, as I watched the fire grow larger and larger. Just when I thought I was doomed to die in the flames once again, someone suddenly rushed in. Song Jia, it's Gu Chen-nan. Help, help me. I was crying so hard I could barely catch my breath. Gu Chen-nan ran over to me, draped his soaked coat over me, and tightly covered my eyes with one hand. The blazing fire was instantly replaced by endless darkness. It's okay now. It's okay. Gu Chen-nan's voice was low and hoarse, thick with fear. I'm here. I've got you. I'll get you out of here. It was like clutching a life-saving straw in the darkness. I held on to him tightly. It seemed many people had arrived then, and the surroundings grew loud and chaotic. I was being held by Gu Chen-nan as we walked out, not knowing how long it took before I heard Lin Zisun panting and asking, Song Jia, are you alright? Hearing his voice, it felt as if I were still trapped in that sea of flames. A wave of dizziness hit me just before I passed out. I heard Gu Chen-nan's cold voice, stay away from her. 15. They say being burned alive is the most painful way to go. Crouched in the corner of the balcony, I watched the flames lunge toward me, my heart filled with boundless terror. Help me, help me. Just as I had lost count of how many times I had called out, suddenly someone burst in from the fire. It was Gu Chen-nan at the age of 17. He wrapped me tightly in his soaked coat. Don't be afraid, Song Jia. He held me, whispering words of comfort. I'm here now. You're safe with me. The sea of fire that filled the sky seemed to slowly recede. A chill from the coat made me shiver. Dr. Yi, is she alright? I heard Gu Chen-nan's voice through my dazed haze. It's nothing serious, just a bit of shock. She'll be fine once she wakes up. The doctor's voice sounded distant. You should be more worried about yourself. The principal is under a lot of pressure right now. I didn't open my eyes until the doctor had walked away. Gu Chen-nan was standing by my bed. His clothes bore scorch marks, and his face was smudged with patches of soot and ash. You're awake. Seeing me open my eyes, the furrow in his brow finally relaxed. I nodded, glanced toward the door, and asked him, "Is the principal going to expel you?" He was taken aback for a moment, lowering his gaze slightly. "You've heard about it too." He gave a wry smile, his tone tinged with self-mockery. "Was that your mother the other day?" Just as I thought, it's just that woman. I can't shake the feeling she looks familiar. Like I've seen her somewhere before." Songjia. He suddenly looked up at me. "Huh, I'm a bastard." I was taken aback, truly not expecting him to be so blunt. "So what?" I looked back at him. "It's not your fault. Whether it was your mother's mistake or your father's, it's not on you. Let the adults handle adult matters. You just focus on growing up well and striving to become an adult who doesn't make mistakes." Perhaps it was the overly bright lights in the infirmary, but Guchinan's eyes seemed to glisten too. He reached out and ruffled my hair. "Okay, 16, the lab." Fire and Guchinan's background became the hot topic at school. What escalated the buzz was Guchinan's strikingly beautiful mother visiting the school. No one knew what she said to the principal, but he led her into his office looking miserable and escorted her out with a smile. After leaving the principal's office, she didn't leave the school but stood outside our classroom for a long time. I sighed as I glanced at the empty seat behind me where Guchinan should have been. She probably won't get to see Guchinan today. To my surprise, she actually stopped me on the way home after school. Songjia. She waved at me with a smile. I hesitated for a moment, but still walked over to her. "Auntie." She gave me a warm smile, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Guchinan is quite similar to her in this regard. You've grown so much. I didn't expect this beginning. Back then, you were just this small." She gestured in the air. "I think you were only 6 years old, and now you've grown into a young lady." She went on talking to herself for quite a while. Following her words, I strained to recall my 6-year-old self. It felt like a distant memory, but a faint trace of it surfaced in my mind. "Auntie Gu," I called out tentatively. She patted my head with a smile, tacitly agreeing. When I was 6, a mother and son moved in next door, staying for less than half a year. They had long since faded from my memory. I never imagined that mother and son were Guchinan and his mother. "Tell Shinnan not to worry about the school matter. I've already taken care of it." That was probably the real reason she came to see me. I nodded. "Why don't you tell him yourself, Auntie?" She was taken aback. "Didn't Shinnan tell you?" She placed a hand on her stomach. "I'm married. Shinnan hasn't wanted anything to do with me for years." The identity of a bastard, a mother who is pregnant after remarriage. Why can Guchinan still appear so vibrant and seemingly thriving on the surface? 17. Guchinan. I found Guchinan in the park near my home, whom I hadn't seen for a few days. He was crouching alone in the bridge arch, holding a cigarette that hadn't finished burning. The dim streetlight fell on him, making him look incredibly heart-wrenching at the moment. Perhaps this was his true self all along. He looked up at me and instinctively tossed the cigarette aside. I glanced at the cigarette that took a moment to go out on the ground, walked over, and gave him a light smack on the head. "Have you been smoking?" He shook his head. He immediately spat out the bubble gum in his mouth to show me. "Why are you here?" He moved aside to make room for me. I crouched down beside him. "Is this place only for you to come?" He laughed. He has such a beautiful smile, like a shooting star streaking across the night sky. "Guchinan, why didn't you come to school?" He picked up a stone and tossed it into the river. "There's not much time left anyway. Your mom came to school today." His hand paused midair as he threw the stone. "She went to see the principal. You won't be expelled this time." The stone thrown into the river caused a big splash. Guchinan stood up from the ground. "I don't need her fake sympathy. She's married now, carrying another man's child." He looked down at me, his eyes devoid of light. "She's shed that shameful past. That child will be born into legitimacy, welcomed with love and blessings from everyone." Songjia. "What about me?" His voice was low and hoarse, piercing my heart like a needle. I stood up, meeting his gaze. "You have me in my eyes. You stand in the light, and you are worthy of everyone's love and blessings." Guchinan, come back to school. Come back with me. 18. In my past life, it must have been right around this time that Guchinan left school, and then he was never heard from again. But this time, Guchinan came back. No one at school was tactless enough to discuss Guchinan's background anymore. Everyone had entered the most intense phase of studying. Several months passed in the blink of an eye. On the day the college entrance exams ended, my classmates, who had been wound as tight as a wire, cut loose and celebrated wildly through the school like a herd of stampeding horses. I stood quietly in the hallway, feeling a sense of relaxation I had never known before. That's when Linzison walked over to me. He had already secured a guaranteed university placement, yet he still chose to sit for the exams. Songjia. He walked over to me and we watched the clouds together. "Where do you Want to go to college? This question, I once asked him. I turned my head to look at him. Since I stopped liking him, I realized he's just ordinary. Love really is the most ridiculous filter. I'll go to university in a city I like, I answered with a smile, but it definitely won't be in City B. He was taken aback. Songjia, he said, looking down at me. I gave up my guaranteed admission too. I genuinely never saw that coming in this lifetime. It's as if he's become a completely different person. If you want to go to S City, I'll go with you, he said with unusual seriousness. I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? I furrowed my brow, feeling a wave of disgust. The wheel of fortune turns, and I never thought it would be his turn now, yet I didn't feel particularly happy about it. Just then, Gu Chennan, standing downstairs, waved at me. My frown eased, and I smiled, waving back at him. As I was about to turn and head downstairs, I said to Linzison, with your grades, you could get into a university in City B even without the guaranteed admission. Linzison, I don't like you, I said to him earnestly, word by word. I never liked you before, I don't like you now, and I never will. I will never like you, and I like even less the version of myself who gave up who I was for you. What's so great about Gu Chennan? He pressed on, following closely behind me, unwilling to give up. He smokes, drinks, gets into fights, and his grades are a complete mess. Still an illegitimate child nobody wants to acknowledge. As soon as he finished speaking, I turned and slapped him. I originally thought his infidelity was a mistake he made 10 years later, and I shouldn't blame the current him, so all I ever thought about was staying away from him. What I didn't expect was that he was actually such a person. Maybe I never really knew him at all. He's better than you in every way. I let out a bitter laugh, exasperated. Linzison, what on earth do you see in me? If I remember correctly, from the moment you transferred here, I never once bothered you. Look behind you. My gaze shifted to the group of girls following him. With all those girls fawning over you, you could have any of them, yet you insist on liking me. Are you just asking for it, or is it that you're so used to being on top, you get off on trying to conquer a woman like me who's immune to you? I said, my gaze icy. If I were just like those girls fawning over you, would you even still be interested? No, he probably never imagined a woman would say such things to him. Frozen in place, not moving at all, a girl couldn't stand it anymore and stepped forward from behind him. Before she could say anything, Gu Chennan grabbed my hand from behind me and we ran downstairs. That day, Gu Chennan pulled me along and we ran for a long time. The wind blew past us in gusts, lifting my hair. Gu Chennan smiled. See, even the wind is saying you're free. I am free. 19. Linzison didn't show up to the graduation party. The girls who like Linzison look at me with daggers in their eyes, like they want to devour me whole, but with Gu Chennan sitting right beside me, not a single one of them dares to come near. Munching on the fruit platter from the KTV, I grinned at Gu Chennan. Right now, you're acting like my bodyguard. I don't mind, he said, raising an eyebrow with a roguish grin. Everyone drank that day. Many classmates were drinking for the first time and passed out after I sent the last girl who had been yelling at me home. I turned to look at Gu Chennan behind me. His ears were also tinged with pink, had quite a bit to drink. We walked back side by side, and this time the streetlights stretched our shadows long behind us. Even though there was still a fist's distance between us, our shadows looked as if they were holding hands. Songjia, Gu Chennan suddenly stopped. I watched the shadow and stopped as well. I like you. He turned to look at me. His eyes always seemed to sparkle, as if they could draw people in. I slightly lowered my head, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. I knew it a long time ago when he kept dragging me to watch his games, one after another, when he jumped down from the wall to stop that gang of thugs. My background is shady, my grades are poor, and I get into fights. He repeated Linzison's words from that day, one by one, but I don't smoke. I immediately covered his mouth with my hand. His lips were cold, moving slightly against my palm. It tickled. My palm was ticklish. My heart itched with longing. Your background isn't your fault, I patiently explained, point by point. Not everyone has to be a top student. You're an amazing swimmer. You win first place every time. You know how to fight, but you've never picked a fight unfairly, and you protect me. You're so wonderful. I blinked, tilting my head as I looked at him. I like you too. He was taken aback. His eyes lit up again, as if they'd been sprinkled with all the stars in the sky. Really? Really? And then we fell silent. I walked all the way back to the entrance of our complex, my face flushed. Just as I was about to say goodbye at the gate, Gu Chennan suddenly asked me, do you want to try some bubblegum? I was taken aback. Very sweet, he declared confidently. I nodded blankly, reaching out my hand. Instead, he tossed a piece of bubble gum into his mouth and blew a bubble. Before I knew what he was doing, he leaned slightly and touched the bubble to my lips. My mind went completely blank. and my tongue instinctively darted out to wet my lips with a soft pop. The bubble burst, snapping me back to reality. Was it sweet? Gu Chen-nan asked with a smile. In that instant, a rush of blood surged to my head, and my entire face burned with heat. I stomped my foot and turned to run. Not sweet at all. I lied. 20. Both Gu Chen-nan and I moved to S City. His swimming performance was so outstanding that our school made an exception to admit him in S City. All those old rumors and gossip were left behind the moment Gu Chen-nan started school. Someone posted about him on the campus crush wall. Oh, isn't this Gu, the campus heartthrob? I said with a hint of jealousy as I sat in the cafe, watching the person who had just finished training come to meet me for a date. Gu Chen-nan grinned and sat down beside me. What campus heartthrob? Here, I'm just the boyfriend of the campus beauty, Song. I laughed and gave his chest a playful punch, touched by the way it really is getting stronger and stronger every time this happens. I feel like it's all a dream. This is clearly my second time in college, but it feels like this is how college should be. Endless competitions, countless awards, and a boyfriend who's really good to me. Instead of waiting outside the boys' dormitory every day, time passed by in such a beautiful and warm way. In the blink of an eye, a decade had passed. September 8th has come around again, the year I turned 27. I stared at the calendar on the wall, lost in thought for a long time. It's been 10 years already. Gu Chen-nan wrapped his arms around me from behind, also looking at the calendar. Yeah, on this day 10 years ago, I became your desk mate. Yeah, I turned around with a smile and hugged him. Hurry up and get ready to go. We're going to be late. Today is his last game before retirement. It's very important. He didn't really want to go in the first place. He'd rather have stayed home with me. I insisted he should go. I didn't want him to have any regrets about missing it. After I saw him out, I curled back up on the sofa. I'm not sure how much time passed, but then our high school group chat suddenly lit up with the news that Linzison was getting married. Then, someone posted a photo. It was a photo of Linzison and a woman unlike the one I received 10 years ago. This woman was dressed conservatively, and there was a faint resemblance to me around the eyes and brows. Baikuer messaged me privately. Linzison is truly deeply in love with you. No, I can't take that, I replied with a laugh. The high school group chat was still buzzing with activity, but all I saw on my screen were photos of Linzison and that woman. Everything had changed, and yet, it seemed to be slowly coming together again. I drifted off again in a haze. The nightmare I hadn't had in a long time came back. I was still helplessly huddled on the balcony, but this time I opened Gu Chen-nan's chat window. Just as I was about to type, I suddenly stopped. I closed the chat window and dialed Gu Chen-nan's number. Gu Chen-nan, who was in the middle of a competition, answered. His voice on the other end was a mix of urgency and tenderness. Don't be afraid, I'm here. All my fear instantly melted away. I woke to the sound of my phone ringing. Then I heard Gu Chen-nan's voice. Whatever, I'm retiring anyway. Just say I lack sportsmanship. I struggled to wake up and opened my eyes to see Gu Chen-nan standing by the floor-to-ceiling window. A sense of unprecedented security washed over me. My nose tingled, and tears fell. What are you doing back? I asked Gu Chen-nan, my voice hoarse. He ended the call and turned to look at me. With the light behind him, I couldn't make out the expression on his face. All I knew was that he felt as warm as the sunlight. He asked me with a smile, the soup is still stewing on the stove, and you fell asleep. What would you do without me, comma. End of main text, comma, extra chapter. Gu Chen-nan. When I saw the news of the fire, I had just finished a meeting. Mr. Gu, you have another meeting this afternoon. I loosened my tie and ran out, with my assistant chasing after me. Cancel them all. I drove like crazy, not knowing how many red lights I ran through. Before finally reaching my destination, the downstairs was already crowded with people, but Linzison was nowhere to be seen. A fire broke out at his home, yet he never returned. Over there, someone shouted, pointing to a balcony on the high-rise. It's the lady of the house, Song Jia. I rushed in, ignoring the police trying to stop me. The elevators were shut down because of the fire. I climbed floor by floor, my heart sinking with each step. The fire was immense. In the end, I collapsed right outside the door. If I had another chance, I would never, ever hesitate again and let someone else have her. I wonder if even fate took pity on me. When I woke up again, I found myself 10 years in the past when the teacher said, Gu Chen-nan, switch seats and sit next to Song Jia. I couldn't have been happier. I started deliberately getting closer to Song Jia. The rumor that she liked me was one I started myself. It didn't matter to me even if she was just using me to play hard to get with Linzison from the start. As long as she stays by my side, I can protect her whenever needed. I no longer follow her secretly. Every morning, I wake up early, take a long detour to her neighborhood, wait for her, and we go to school together and return home together. Whenever Linzison tries to get close to him, I appear right on time. I would deliberately pass by wherever she appeared, so what if she says she doesn't like me? She will eventually. Everything is heading in a positive direction until that day, when my mother, whom I hadn't seen in years, appeared. I suddenly remembered that painful past I'd rather forget. I suddenly realized my secret identity that I couldn't reveal to anyone. No matter how much I tried to change, the inevitable would still come. That man named Chu Tianhui found me after all, and the thugs he hired were beyond my ability to handle. You're just a bastard, he said, looking down on me with contempt. Tell your mother to stay away from my family. You will never set foot in the Chu household. I couldn't refute a single word he said. This identity weighed on me so heavily I could barely breathe, and Song Jia was even more dazzling than in my past life. So dazzling that I often asked myself if I was even worthy. Do you think you're worthy of her? After the college entrance exam, Lin Zison found me and said the exact same thing he had once said before. He knew I liked Song Jia. He had known for a long time. This time I retorted, do you think you're worthy? Was I even worthy of the blazing love Song Jia had for me in our past life? As I was leaving, I glanced back at him. His hand was gripping the coffee cup with immense force. You had your chance to have her, I said flatly, but you didn't cherish it. If you don't cherish her, don't blame me for taking her. Because of Song Jia, I chose a different path in this life. I didn't join the Chu family out of desperation this time. Instead, I fought my way into the national team step by step on my own. Soon enough, the day of my retirement arrived. The entertainment industry had already extended an olive branch, and I was set to be signed by an agency. Once I retired, I'd do anything to give Song Jia a good life. It's just that she insisted I compete on September 8th. I love how you look on the field. I could never say no to her requests. Then come watch my game. Stop joking around. I still have work to deal with. I'm worried leaving her at home. I called her twice before the game, but no one answered. An overwhelming sense of fear washed over me, and I changed my clothes and went home despite the objections. Only when I opened the door did I see her, small and curled up on the sofa, sleeping soundly, with a pot of my favorite soup simmering in the kitchen. The bubbling sound filled the entire room. I walked into the kitchen and turned off the stove. As the bubbling sound faded, my heart settled into a quiet calm. Crouching beside the sofa, I gazed at Song Jia's serene face, feeling a profound sense of gratitude I had never known before. It was just a phone call that woke her. I really should have put my phone on silent. It's okay, a little scandal now is good. I already have traffic before even entering the entertainment industry. I laughed, pulling her tightly into my arms and kissing her furrowed brow. Isn't that why I rushed back to drink the soup you made? She's easy to console. She'll be fine. After a little comforting, the high school group chat is still buzzing with activity. Someone suddenly posted a blurry photo. Song Jia zoomed in on the photo again and again, pointing at the person behind her in the picture. She asked me, hey, is that you? That must have been from an event in our first year of high school. Yes, it is, I said, pulling her closer. I was always right behind you, but you never looked back, so I had to run to your side. She was utterly confused, then suddenly looked up and asked me, tell me the truth, when did you start liking me? A long, long time ago. I can't quite remember. When I was 6, my father, whom I had never met, came to our door, and my mother argued with him inside because he had another family. Helplessly sitting at the entrance of my home, 6-year-old Song Jia took my hand and said to me, adults arguing is an adult matter. We are kids, and all we need to do is grow up well and strive to become adults who don't make mistakes. Perhaps that was when a seed was planted. The seed slowly sprouts, then it slowly grows, and it will bloom. The end. Story 2. Lu Yan and I were married for business reasons. In the 3 years of our marriage, he was away from home for 2.5 years. My title as Mrs. Lu was merely a formality. Later, his ex-girlfriend, the one he truly loved, returned. I voluntarily offered to divorce, but Lu Yan pushed me against the door and said, are you dreaming? The Lu family's ancestral home in the backyard. Mrs. Chiu, Lu Yan's mother, held a luxurious coffee cup and glanced at me. She paused, glanced at my stomach, and said nonchalantly, it's been 3 years since you got married, and there's still no sign of a baby. Is it you who can't, or is it A Yen? Such a blunt question startled me so much that my hand jerked, spilling some of my coffee. I guiltily grabbed a few napkins to wipe up the coffee, thinking to myself, mother-in-law, it's not that your son can't, it's that he's too capable, but he's only home for a few months out of the whole year. Even if I wanted to have a baby, I'm powerless to make it happen. Although I thought that in my heart, I still respectfully said, Mom, we're preparing. Seeing me like this, Ms. Chiu put down her coffee cup and sighed. If you ask me, you might as well go on the business trip with Yen. You should know, you're already 26, and if you drag it out for a few more years, you'll become a high-risk pregnancy, and it's you who will suffer. Chiu went on and on for over half an hour, and while I obediently nodded on the surface, I secretly thought, who wants to travel the world on business trips with him, living in a big villa alone, doing whatever I want? Isn't that great? Lu Yan has returned while lounging on the sofa in the living room of the grand mansion, watching mindless variety shows, laughing without a care in the world, and munching on snacks, watching my utterly ungraceful appearance. His face showed no emotion, neither joy nor anger. My persona in the Lu family is that of a virtuous and devoted wife and mother, so when I saw Lu Yan, I was momentarily startled but quickly sat up, hastily stashed the snacks under the coffee table, smiled warmly, walked up to take his suit jacket, and cooed sweetly, "You're back." Lu Yan said nothing, his sharp gaze fixed on the television on the screen. Celebrities were laughing uproariously while playing mindless games. Feeling a bit guilty, I turned off the TV and explained, "Just watching occasionally." Hearing this, Lu Yan's gaze shifted to the snacks on the coffee table. "Just once in a while," I laughed. Feeling a bit guilty, Lu Yan didn't say anything more, so I quickly added, "You must be hungry, let me make you some noodles." With that, I placed Lu Yan's suit jacket on the sofa. Just as I was about to head to the kitchen, he grabbed my hand. His face, cool and composed as ever, showed no expression. He said, "Go take a shower." Lu Yan has been back for over 7 days this time. Usually, he'd be off on another business trip after just 2 or 3 days, and I could go back to my carefree life without anyone watching over me. But this time, he's clearly been staying home much longer than usual. I picked a moment when Lu Yan seemed to be in a decent mood and tactfully asked him when he was heading out on his next trip. Hearing this, Lu Yan set down his financial magazine, removed his gold-rimmed glasses, placed them on the nightstand, and looked at me. "It seems you still have some energy left." Lu Yan has probably made up his mind not to go on any business trips. It's been a whole month. He leaves for work and comes home on time every day, and at night, he's on time with, well, never mind that. The worst part is, I've lost all my personal freedom. I can't just snack all day and skip proper meals anymore. No more sprawling on the couch, mindlessly watching TV and munching on snacks. No more staying up late. No more staying up late reading novels. Lu Yan keeps me on a tight leash, insisting on healthy eating and exercise. I comply on the surface every day, but inside I'm extremely annoyed, even secretly praying to the gods and Buddhas to send Lu Yan on a business trip soon. But maybe because I didn't offer any offerings, the gods not only ignored my request but also made Lu Yan consider making me his secretary, wanting to keep me by his side at all times. "Madam, would you prefer coffee or floral tea?" asked Wang Zhe, Lu Yan's actual secretary, slumped listlessly on the sofa in Lu Yan's office. Scrolling through my tablet, I replied with a weak tea. Lu Yan may have said he was making me his secretary, but he gave me no real work. He treated me like a decorative vase, just placed in his office for show. He would simply glance at me, chat for a bit when he needed a break from work, and then return to his tasks. To be honest, living like this, where everything is handed to you on a silver platter, it's absolutely amazing. Probably because life has been so comfortable, I've started to let my guard down in front of Lu Yan. Even when Lu Yan wanted to take me to a business banquet, I dared to refuse because the TV series I've been following is having its finale tonight. So I pretended to feel dizzy and turned Lu Yan down, and then, things went south. He was photographed kissing a famous actress. I only found out because my terminally online best friend told me. She said my boss Lu had cheated on me, and it was all over the trending searches on Weibo. When I clicked to take a look, seeing that actress, my eyes widened in shock. When Lu Yan returned, I pretended to be asleep. After he went to the guest room to shower and came back, he surprisingly just held me and went to sleep. I was fuming inside, so I ignored him. I still gave him the cold shoulder. The next day, at breakfast, I stayed silent, and so did he. Even when we got to the office, we kept to ourselves. The news about him and that actress was impossible to contain. Gossip was flying everywhere, and even Mrs. Chiu, who was all the way in France attending a fashion show, got wind of it. She made a special call back just to ask about it. After Lu Yan answered the call, he glanced at me and stepped away to talk in private. I curled up on the sofa, streaming a show on my tablet, pretending I hadn't noticed. Lu Yan, however, came back after finishing his call and sat down beside me. "Did you see yesterday's trending topic?" Lu Yan asked. I looked up and met his gaze. Was he trying to bring it out into the open? I lowered my head again. "Yeah, I saw it. How do you feel about it?" Lu Yan suddenly asked me. Hearing that, my temper flared up instantly. What a loaded question. Don't you know this actress and my idol don't get along? Couldn't you have picked someone else? I confronted him loudly, but as soon as I finished, I regretted it. How could I speak to my sponsor like that? That's right, although Lu Yan is my legal husband, I've always treated him as my sponsor because he would give me all kinds of expensive jewelry and also gave me several supplementary cards to swipe as I pleased. I cautiously glanced at Lu Yan, trying to salvage my persona, but Lu Yan's expression was extremely grim as he asked me, "You're angry not because of the rumors about me and another woman, but because she's your idol's arch-nemesis." Seeing Lu Yan's dark expression, I hesitated for a moment, secretly trying to decipher the meaning behind his words before I could figure it out. I saw Lu Yan with a dark expression calling Wan Zhe in to issue a statement on behalf of the group, clarifying the gossip. Soon, the group's official Weibo account issued a statement clarifying the rumors about Lu Yan and the actress, and it mentioned me with the caption, "This is our real Mrs. Lu." Lu Yan retweeted and liked this Weibo post in an instant. My Weibo exploded, the follower count skyrocketed. Everyone is curious to see what the mysterious Mrs. Lu looks like due to special circumstances. When Lu Yan and I got married, we only invited close relatives and held a simple ceremony. The public always assumed Lu Yan was single, but he wears a wedding ring on his left ring finger, so everyone is speculating about whether he's actually married this time. It just so happened that the news about the actress exploded, instantly sparking a buzz, and everyone started speculating that she was Mrs. Lu, but unexpectedly, Lu Yan quickly cleared it up and even dragged me out as a scapegoat. Man, Lu Yan's been looking really sour lately. Even at night, we slept back to back, but I didn't care, and I had no intention of dealing with him because I was on my period. My mother passed away early, and my stepmother would have loved to ruin me, so during my development, she not only didn't take care of me but even deliberately fed me cold and harmful things, resulting in extremely painful periods for me. I usually just take painkillers, but I happened to be all out this time. The villa community where Lu Yan and I live is extremely upscale, the kind where every household has live-in help, so food delivery services can't even get in. I had no choice but to tough it out and wait for my best friend to bring me some medicine at daybreak, but relying on painkillers for so long had made me underestimate just how brutal my period cramps could be. Without them, I lay in bed, the pain so intense I could barely breathe, my body covered in a cold sweat. By the time Lu Yan realized something was wrong, my consciousness was already fading. All I remember is using every last bit of my strength to clutch at Lu Yan's collar, sobbing, "Lu Yan, it hurts." When I woke up again, I was in the hospital with N4 in my arm. Lu Yan was holding my hand, keeping vigil by my side, still wearing that same set of black silk pajamas. I must have been given some kind of painkiller, as I no longer felt pain, just a lingering weakness. "I'll get you some hot water." Seeing me trying to sit up, Lu Yan adjusted the hospital bed, propped up a pillow for me, and brought me some hot water. My hands were still trembling, and I could barely hold the cup steady. Unable to watch, Lu Yan simply brought the cup to my lips. "Thank you." After drinking the water, I thanked him. "Why didn't you ever tell me your period cramps were this bad?" Lu Yan put down his water cup and asked me. His expression was a bit angry. I was a bit confused, and with pale lips, I replied, "I feel fine when I take painkillers." Lu Yan seemed upset, but in the end, he just exhaled and softened his tone. "Starting today, take good care of your body." After returning from the hospital, Lu Yan didn't seem mad at me anymore. I couldn't help but grumble to myself, "You spread rumors and you're mad at me." The villain complains first. Lu Yan took me to see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, had the nanny brew herbal medicine for me every day, and then personally watched me drink it twice a day, rain or shine. For this, he would rather take his work home just to leave on time and supervise me drinking traditional Chinese medicine every time under Lu Yan's watchful eye. Drinking those bitter herbal remedies, I feel like dying right there. After my period ended, Lu Yan was preparing to take me to a charity gala. When I refused again, Lu Yan threatened me, "If you don't go to the gala, then you can stay home and do something else." Me, when it comes to threatening people, it's still our CEO Lu. I obediently followed Lu Yan to the charity gala. When I saw her at the banquet, I suddenly understood why Lu Yan insisted on me attending. His ex-girlfriend and the love of his life, Bai Ning, was also there, but when Lu Yan saw her, his expression stiffened for a moment. At that moment, she suddenly turned her head and looked at Lu Yan. The two of them locked eyes across the distance for a few seconds. I watched them with great interest. Did Lu Yan bring me here just to watch them flaunt their affection? A few seconds later, Lu Yan averted his gaze, pursed his lips slightly, tightened his grip on my hand resting on his arm, and led me to meet his business associates. In the early days of my marriage to Lu Yan, I accompanied him to many such events, so I was quite adept at navigating the social intricacies of the business world. Amidst the lively conversation, I heard a gentle woman's voice calling Ayen from behind us. I turned my head instinctively. It was Bai Ning. Bai Ning, holding a glass of red wine, smiled at Lu Yan as she glided gracefully toward us. Lu Yan watched her approach, his expression unchanged, yet I keenly sensed a flicker of displeasure in him. While I was still stunned, Bai Ning walked up to us and said with a bright smile, Ayen. The affectionate, intimate tone in which she called Lu Yan was enough to set one's imagination running wild. Lu Yan didn't respond. Unfazed, Bai Ning turned to look at me and said to him, and this must be Missin. Missin. I maintained a polite smile as I looked at Bai Ning. It seems this Miss Bai is no ordinary person, addressing me as Missin right off the bat. Isn't that her way of distancing me from Lu Yan? And she knows my name. She must have done her homework on me. Yes, I smiled softly, looking at Lu Yan, my tone affectionate. Honey, aren't you going to introduce me? Tit for tat, who doesn't know that? You're trying to make me uncomfortable right off the bat, so I'll show off our love and drive you crazy. Lu Yan looked at me, and surprisingly, his brow relaxed. He raised an eyebrow and turned back to Bai Ning, an old acquaintance. With that, he wrapped his arm around my waist, drawing me close, and said to Bai Ning, this is my wife, Anning. He introduced me as his wife. While his mention of Bai Ning was so brief it made her visibly uncomfortable for a moment, the atmosphere grew rather delicate, but Bai Ning was no pushover either. She continued with a smile, Ayen, it's been so long. I've missed you terribly. I raised an eyebrow. The suggestive tone left the others present exchanging awkward glances. Lu Yan's expression darkened. Let's talk in private, Lu Yan said to Bai Ning, his expression grim. Bai Ning agreed readily, looking at me with a challenging and triumphant gleam in her eyes. But the next moment, Lu Yan shut her down. He kissed my cheek and said gently, honey, I just need to discuss something with her. I'll be right back. Watching Bai Ning's frozen smile, I said with satisfaction, sure. After they left, I continued making small talk with Lu Yan's business associates. Everyone here is sharp, so no one would ask anything unless they're an idiot. For instance, my stepsister. After some polite chit-chat, I went to a corner to enjoy some dessert. Just as I was enjoying my dessert, my stepsister's voice rang out behind me. If I were you, I'd have hanged myself by now. How could I even eat? And you stood there in her high-end princess dress, clutching a Hermes bag, arms crossed, looking at me with disdain. I turned around and looked at her, my expression a mix of emotions. And you, pink is delicate. How old are you now? And you're still wearing a pink princess dress. I couldn't figure out where a new sense of style came from. At 25, she still dressed so childish. You was furious. She wanted to curse at me, but then changed her mind. I just saw President Liu talking on the terrace with a very beautiful girl, and you looked at me triumphantly, hoping to see a jealous expression on my face, but I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction. I replied offhandedly, oh, her, she's Mr. Liu's ex-girlfriend. Hearing this, Anyua's eyes lit up as if she'd just stumbled upon a juicy secret. She leaned in closer. His ex, so you're about to get kicked to the curb. Me, is she out of her mind? Kick me out. Have you been reading too many novels? I licked my lips and said with grave sincerity, Anyua, you should read fewer novels and more intellectually stimulating material. When it comes to verbal sparring, Anyua has never been a match for me, not since we were kids. Her hands clenched into tight fists, her eyes fixed on me with burning intensity. After a long pause, she suddenly said, Chuju is back. Did you know? Chuju, that's a name from a distant past. I replied without a change in expression, oh, I know now. And you stepped closer to me. Don't you want to rekindle your old flame with him? I gave you a strange look. Why would I want to rekindle my old flame with him? You're not still in love with Chuju, are you? And you practically pressed her face against mine, trying to read something in my expression. I took a step back to put some distance between us, and my expression darkened. And you, I don't want to hear that name again, I said calmly as I set down the cake. Whether he comes back or not has nothing to do with me. I'm married. As I spoke, I twisted the large diamond wedding ring on my finger, seeing my stern expression. And you not only showed no restraint but also escalated her taunts. Feeling she had hit a nerve, she continued to mock. I advise you to divorce Mr. Liu as soon as possible, and Ning, those who are unworthy of their position will surely face misfortune, just like your short-lived mother. Ah, before Anu could finish her sentence, I splashed a glass of red wine in her face. She stared at me in disbelief, red wine dripping from her chin and ruining her gown. The commotion, neither too loud nor too quiet, drew the attention of many onlookers, including my father and stepmother. Seeing that Anyue had been doused by me, they immediately marched over with righteous indignation to berate me, and Hechuan immediately accused me without asking for reasons. While his stepmother Lu Yun gently comforted Anu for a moment, I was back in my childhood nightmare. I coldly watched their family of 3, and Ning, you ungrateful daughter, how could you treat your sister like this? And Hechuan roared at me, completely disregarding the situation. I don't just want to splash her, I want to splash you too, I snorted coldly. Looking at him with a smile that wasn't quite a smile, you ungrateful daughter, and Hechuan raised his hand, ready to slap me, but was stopped. Uncle En, please don't be angry. Ningning didn't mean it. The familiar voice belonged to Chuju. I looked somewhat dazed at the tall man standing in front of me. Before I could react, a glass of red wine was thrown in my face. It was on Yue. After splashing the wine, she ducked behind Lu Jun and stuck a triumphant, mocking tongue out at me. For a moment, every eye in the entire venue was fixed on me. I straightened my back, pulled out a few sheets of paper, and dabbed the red wine stains off my face. I patted Chuju, who was standing in front of me, and smiled politely. Excuse me. Chuju was slightly taken aback when he saw me smile at him while he was still stunned. I pushed past him and walked toward Anyue. My hand shot out with lightning speed. I yanked Anyue out from behind Lu Jun and slapped her across the face twice with all my might. I moved so fast that Lu Jun didn't even have time to shield Anyue. How dare you speak about my mother, who's the one who stole someone else's place as the mistress? Do you really want the whole world to know what kind of woman your mother is? Huh. I raised my voice, making sure everyone around us could hear about Lu Jun's history of climbing the social ladder. Those 2 slaps were delivered with brutal force. They were so hard that when Anyue was knocked to the ground, she didn't even process what had happened. She just covered her face, staring at me in utter disbelief. My hand went completely numb seeing Anyue knocked to the ground by me and having her dirty laundry aired. Lu Yan cursed under her breath before lunging at me, but Lu Yan was faster. He shielded me firmly in his arms, completely cutting me off from them. Mr. And Lu Yan's expression was grim as he addressed An Hechuan coldly, and Hechuan flinched and quickly grabbed Lu Yan. Lu Yan cried and pounded on him, accusing him of not being a man, saying he didn't even dare to speak up when his wife and daughter were being bullied. And Hechuan's face turned extremely pale. With people coming and going, he felt utterly humiliated by his wife's merciless accusations. He hissed at Lu Yan, if you keep acting crazy, I'll freeze your card. At those words, Lu Yan froze as if someone had hit pause, instantly falling into line. Mr. N. I expect a reasonable explanation for who threw the red wine in my wife's face. Lu Yan said, his expression as cold and still as deep water. He showed An Hechuan no courtesy whatsoever. His polite yet distant tone and formal address made it clear to everyone that he was not on familiar terms with his father-in-law. Well, this, An Hechuan was utterly mortified. You know better than I do how Ningning's mother, my mother-in-law, passed away. Lu Yan comforted me by stroking my back. Anning is now my wife. And if she is bullied, it's as if I am being bullied. Lu Yan's voice was neither loud nor soft, yet it carried a clear warning, and his whole body trembled. Since my grandfather and mother passed away, the company's business has been declining, and now it basically relies on the Lu Group for survival. If Lu Yan withdraws his investment, it would be a devastating blow to the company. So, crossing Lu Yan is like picking a fight with the god of fortune himself. And Hechuan was a pragmatic man. Gritting his teeth, he turned and slapped Anyue. You ungrateful girl, who gave you the right to bully your sister? You apologize right now. But Anyue, spoiled rotten since childhood, how could she possibly endure such a slap from her father? She stamped her foot, covered her face, and fled the banquet hall. Lu Jun went after her. Seeing this, and Hechuan had no choice but to step forward and apologize himself. Ningning, your sister is still young. Apologizing to his own daughter was utterly humiliating for An Hechuan, leaving him with nothing but an awkward, placating smile. I turned to look at him, at this stranger who was my father, my face nearly expressionless. You must be joking, Mr. N. My mother was frail and bore only one child, me. What sister could I possibly have? I should have had a younger brother, but he and my mom are gone. I held back my tears, tugged at Lu Yan's hand, and said, I want to go home. Lu Yan didn't say anything more. He took off his suit jacket and draped it over me, then picked me up horizontally. As we were about to leave the banquet hall, 2 voices came from behind us. Ningning, Ayuan. Lu Yan never stopped walking. On the way back, we were all silent and didn't speak. After I got home, changed clothes, and took a shower, I lay in bed spacing out when Lu Yan, still damp from the shower, wrapped his arms around me from behind. His chin rested on the top of my head as he said to me, and Ning, let's have a child. My body stiffened slightly. Have a child? I want a flesh and blood relative, not to live in this world all alone. But my relationship with Lu Yan is unhealthy. He has someone else in his heart, and I can't bring myself to trust or love anyone wholeheartedly anymore under such a relationship. The child won't be happy when they are born, my child. I hope they can be happy and carefree for their entire life. I didn't answer, pretending to be asleep in silence. Lu Yan waited a long time for my reply, with a soft sigh. He held me tighter. Lu Yan didn't bring up the topic of having children again the next day. Not wanting to go to work with Lu Yan, I made an excuse about going shopping with my best friend. Lu Yan didn't make things difficult for me. He just hugged my waist, kissed my cheek, and went to work. When I arrived at the agreed location, my best friend hadn't shown up yet. She said she would be a bit late. I randomly found a cafe, ordered a coffee, and sat down to scroll through my phone while waiting for her. As I was scrolling through my phone, someone sat down across from me. I thought it was my best friend, but when I looked up, it was Bai Ning. Bai Ning was dressed in a red dress, her makeup glaring at me. I raised an eyebrow slightly, didn't speak first, but took a sip of my coffee. Watching Bai Ning with interest, I remained silent, but Bai Ning couldn't hold back and spoke first. I want you to leave Yen, Bai Ning said to me, cutting straight to the chase after dismissing the waiter who had come to take our order. I couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle and shake my head, seeing me laugh without saying a word. Bai Ning grew visibly irritated. She frowned and asked coldly, "What's so funny?" I didn't give her a direct answer. Bai Ning continued, a bit impatiently, "Name your price. How much do you want, Miss Bai?" I leaned my arm on the table, flashing the large diamond ring on my hand, and asked with a smile, "How much can you offer me?" With the title of Mrs. Lu, I have half of all Lu Yan's assets. Can you match that? I leaned back in my chair, calmly watching her. Bai Ning's face changed completely. She probably didn't expect me to be so sharp-witted and hard to fool. She said through gritted teeth, "Ian doesn't love you at all." I shrugged nonchalantly. "It doesn't matter. We're all adults here. Who needs love and affection? As long as Lu Yan belongs to me now and the money is mine, that's enough." Finally, I smiled warmly at Bai Ning. Bai Ning was seething. After glaring at me fiercely, she grabbed her bag and stormed off. I leisurely picked up my coffee and took a sip. Is that all Lu Yan's ex-girlfriend has got? I haven't even pulled out my big move yet. When my bestie arrived, she was bumped into by Bai Ning, who then gave her a fierce glare. "Who is she? That was weird," my best friend grumbled, rubbing her arm as she walked over to me. "That's Mr. Lu's ex," I said, getting up to go for lunch now that she was here. "What?" My friend's face was a mix of shock and eager gossip. "You didn't get into a fight, did you?" I looked at her, puzzled. "Why would we fight?" My bestie gestured. "Isn't she here to show off?" I rolled my eyes slightly, feeling helpless. "She's too weak." She stormed off after I said a few words to her. I never expected to run into Chuju while having a meal. When my bestie and I were almost done eating, she went to the restroom, and I stayed at the table waiting for her. Ning. Chuju sat excitedly in the seat in front of me. I glanced at him, chose to ignore him, and didn't respond. Chuju, however, wouldn't let it go. Ning. Have you been well these past few years? I continued to ignore. Seeing that I still didn't respond, Chuju looked full of guilt and tried to grab my hand. "Have you been having a tough time these past few years? Don't be afraid, I'm back, and I'll marry you." I abruptly stood up, dodging Chuju's hand, coldly staring at him, and finally couldn't hold back. "Are you okay?" Chuju tried to approach again, but I quickly took another step back and sternly shouted, "Stay right there." Chuju could only stand there. Seeing my resistance, he fumbled and said, Ning, are you still angry about what happened back then?" "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have left you in that situation. I love you." Mr. Chu," I said, holding back my anger. "I am now Mrs. Lu." I know. Chuju interrupted me. "Don't worry, I'll convince my mother." I rubbed my forehead in frustration. How did Chuju's brain go bad after going abroad? Just then, my best friend returned. She yanked Chuju away and sneered, "Oh, please, you couldn't even convince your own mother 3 years ago. Do you actually believe the nonsense you're spouting now?" "No, Chuju tried to explain. "Mr. Chu," I said, mustering the last shred of my patience and taking a deep breath, "what we had is in the past. I'm perfectly content with my life now, and I'd appreciate it if you stopped bothering me. It's really unsettling." With that, I tried to leave with my friend, but Chuju grabbed my wrist tightly. "But I can see you don't love him," he insisted. "And it seems like he doesn't." I yanked my hand away forcefully, but couldn't break free. My patience was completely gone, and I snapped, "I don't love anyone, I only love myself." As soon as the words left my mouth, my best friend elbowed me suddenly, following her cue. I looked over and saw Lu Yan. Wangzhe was standing beside him. For a moment, my mind went completely blank. Lu Yan's face was expressionless as he walked over step by step. He reached out and gripped Chuju's wrist. Chuju winced in pain and immediately let go of me. Lu naturally wrapped his arm around my waist, staking his claim. He looked at Chuju and asked gently, "A friend?" I looked at Lu Yen, who was smiling gently, and pursed my lips. "An old friend." After looking at me for 3 seconds, Lu Yen sighed and gently pinched my cheek as Lu Yen led me away. Chuju tried to say something, but was smacked hard by my best friend. From behind came my best friend's teeth-gritting voice. "Chuju, are you out of your mind?" Oh my god, Lu Yen was not as gentle as usual in the evening. It was the first time I had seen him like this, and I didn't dare to remind him, so I could only endure it silently. After it was over, Lu Yen put on his clothes and went downstairs. I took a moment to recover, then fumbled for the medicine from the drawer. I'd forgotten to bring water up, and I didn't have the strength to go back down for it. I just had to steel myself and swallow the pill dry. The tablet got stuck in my throat, and a wave of bitter medicinal taste surged back up. Just as I was about to head downstairs, my face twisted in discomfort. I turned and saw Lu Yen standing in the doorway, holding a glass of water. His face was mostly expressionless, but his knuckles were white where he gripped the glass, betraying his feelings. Did he see me taking the pill? My lips parted slightly as if to explain, but then I closed them again. What is there to say? Whether or not to have a child is my decision. Just as the bitter taste rising in my throat grew unmistakable, Lu Yen walked in and handed me a glass of water. I didn't hesitate, took the cup and drank. It was warm water. While I was drinking, Lu Yen grabbed a pillow and left again. Lu Yen and I have been sleeping in separate rooms, and he's been especially cold towards me lately. Could it be because Chuju has a grudge against you? My bestie reminded me after I finished speaking. Can't be, can it? I said, half believing. Why not? Don't underestimate CEO Lu. He may not show it, but he's still a man. Being told by his wife that she doesn't love him, how could he not feel hurt? My bestie said, but he doesn't love me either. I poked at the straw, feeling a bit down. It's not about love or not love, it's about face. My bestie tapped my forehead. I think he's mad because I'm taking medicine. I sighed, exhaling deeply. Bestie, can you please use your brain for once? She looked exasperated. You've been married for so long. It's time to have a baby. His family is expecting it. Being the only son, how are you going to explain this to them? I was watching my chatty best friend, about to speak, when I caught a glimpse of someone very familiar out of the corner of my eye. Isn't that my childhood nanny? Ever since my mom left, she suddenly disappeared too. It seemed the nanny saw me too. After a moment of hesitation, as if recognizing me, her face changed dramatically, and with trembling lips, she turned to leave. I didn't have time to say anything to my best friend and quickly caught up with the nanny. I caught up with her around the corner. Are you Aunt Jo? I grabbed her arm and asked. I'm not, don't look for me. Aunt Jo's face turned even paler, her eyes filled with fear. I frowned. Why did she seem so terrified of me? Auntie Jo, it's me, Anning, I explained, but to my surprise, upon hearing this, Auntie Jo began trembling violently, dropped straight to her knees before me, and tears streamed from her eyes. I'm sorry, madam, I shouldn't have taken that money and caused your death and the young master's. Please, let me go, don't come for me anymore. After settling Aunt Jo and consulting with a lawyer, I walked in the sunlight and suddenly felt dizzy. My best friend caught me, her face filled with concern. Are you okay? I stared blankly at my best friend. The sensation of blood rushing back through my body still lingered. Don't worry, my best friend said urgently, trying to comfort me. Even after 20 years, even without physical evidence, we still have witnesses. But her words were already fading into a distant hum. My vision went completely black, and all my strength drained away in an instant. I passed out. I woke up in the hospital, with my best friend and Chuju staring at each other. You're awake. How do you feel now? My best friend was the first to notice I was conscious. I'm fine now. I was dazed for a moment before I managed to sit up. Why did you suddenly faint out of nowhere? Chuju asked, puzzled. My best friend seemed like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she held her tongue. She just shot Chuju a look of utter exasperation and said, he's the one who brought you to the hospital. I looked at Chuju, whose eyes were fixed on me with such earnest anticipation, and took a quiet, steadying breath. I asked my best friend to step out for a moment, telling her I needed to talk to Chuju alone. After she left, I ignored the glass of water Chuju offered me and began calmly. When you listened to your mother, abandoned me, and went abroad to study, that was the darkest period of my depression. I watched as Chuju's hand suddenly jerked violently, his face turning pale in an instant. I gave a soft smile. You know, during that time, I slit my wrists and swallowed sleeping pills, but I just didn't die. Hearing me say this, Chuju set down his water glass and frantically tried to explain. Chuju, I barely survived, let me go, and don't appear in my world again. I was utterly exhausted, unable to muster even a strong emotional reaction. From that day on, Chuju indeed never appeared in my sight again. I also began my plan just as that lawyer said. Time has changed, and after 20 years, the physical evidence is long gone, and the witnesses are mentally unstable, their words having no legal validity, making it very difficult for me to use the law to punish Lu Yun. But I must seek justice for my mother and brother. I want to destroy her emotionally and make her lose everything she schemed so hard to get. I arranged for someone to pretend to collaborate with Hichuan and invest in a project together. After being publicly humiliated by Lu Yen at the banquet, Hichuan was desperate to turn things around on his own and no longer rely on investments from the Lu Group, so, without much investigation, he embezzled company funds to invest in the project. I observe everything from behind the scenes. Coldly, Lu Yen has recently started traveling for work again. Since the day we started sleeping in separate rooms, we've been like strangers, not exchanging a single word, so I'm used to him not being home. I first felt something was off 1.5 months later, when I woke up with a wave of nausea. Unable to suppress the physical nausea, I rushed to the bathroom and vomited until I was bringing up stomach acid, exhausted and with no strength left. As I sat on the floor, it suddenly dawned on me that I had missed my period last month, and this month's was late too. Realizing this, my heart started racing. My periods have always been irregular, so when I didn't get one last month, I just thought it was due to stress. But this month, my period is still late, and I've never felt such intense nausea before. My hand unconsciously went to my lower abdomen, and I broke out in a cold sweat. The doctor politely told me, the HCG levels are doubling nicely, and the progesterone looks good. Based on your last menstrual period, you're about 10 weeks along. I felt as if struck by a thunderbolt, my face turning deathly pale. I'm pregnant. Of all times. The doctor, thinking I didn't want it, looked slightly taken aback and said, if you don't want to keep it, you should schedule the procedure soon. The embryo is already quite developed. It took me a long moment to find my voice. Yes, doctor, I want to keep this baby. By the time I got home, it was already afternoon. Doing the math, this baby must had been conceived the last time Lu Yen and I were together, but I'd taken the pill back then, and I'm worried it might have affected the baby, so we rushed to get an ultrasound done. Everything looks normal. The doctor said that as long as I keep up with my regular prenatal checkups, there shouldn't be any major issues. I was sitting on the sofa, gentle sunlight streamed in through the villa's huge floor-to-ceiling windows, spilling over me, warm and cozy. I feel as if I've traveled through time. I gently touched my lower abdomen. This is my child, a child connected to me by blood. And I am no longer alone. But given my current relationship with Lu Yen, how can I provide a good environment for my child to grow up in? Lu Yen returned 3 days later, while I was already asleep. He quietly entered the room and gently kissed my forehead. Due to my pregnancy, I had been waking up frequently at night. Just as I had fallen back asleep, his kiss startled me awake. Lu Yen saw that I was awake, paused for a moment, and then got up to leave. I immediately got out of bed and said the words I had been planning for days. Lu Yen, let's get a divorce. Lu Yan's footsteps halted, and he turned back to look at me, his sharp, cold features showing disbelief. What did you say? He asked. I got up and walked over, repeating. I said, let's get a divorce. The trap set for N and Quan is almost ready to be closed. I should take care of my own matters now. Lu Yan married me back then when the Lu Corporation was going bankrupt, just to give his dying father a sense of closure. I stood by him and helped him rise again, enduring so much hardship, so it's only fair that he gave me a child. I want to divorce Lu Yen and live the life I desire with our child. Lu Yen pinned me against the door, as if holding back time, and again, his neck veins bulged, his face flushed, yet his movements remained gentle. He said, are you dreaming? No, I'm serious. Don't worry. I won't ask for more than my fair share of the assets. I tried to explain that if we got divorced, he could marry Bai Ning and rekindle their old flame, but Lu Yen cut me off. Stop it, don't make me any angrier. And Ning, Lu Yen released me, took 2 steps back, his breathing heavy and his hands trembling uncontrollably. I need some air. After pacing around the room for a few moments, Lu Yen tossed out the words and headed downstairs. A short while later, I saw Lu Yan's car drive away. I sat back down on the bed, my hand resting on my lower abdomen, my eyes stung with unshed tears, and a heavy weight settled in my chest. I was the one who asked for the divorce, so why does it hurt this much? It was a little past 2 in the morning when I got a call from Lu Yen. Half asleep, I didn't want to answer it, But somehow I found myself picking up anyway. The person on the other end politely and courteously identified himself as the bar manager. He then explained the situation. Lu Yan was drunk at their bar, they were about to close, but Lu Yan refused to leave. He had just shoved his phone at the manager, saying, "Go ahead, call my wife to come get me if you dare." That's why he called me. I didn't want to get involved at first, and I was a bit grumpy for being woken up in the middle of the night, but I remembered how Lu Yan drank himself to the point of gastric bleeding that year just to secure a project. After thinking it over, I eventually went to pick up Lu Yan. When I arrived, the bar was quiet, with only Lu Yan left as a customer. He was lying on the table, clearly drunk with his eyes glazed, yet still clutching the wine bottle. I roughly explained my intentions to the bar manager, settled the bill, and then went over to try to help Lu Yan up, but he was deadweight and not as cooperative as before, which made me a bit angry. "Lu Yan, if you don't get up right now, I'm leaving," I said angrily to Lu Yan, who was slumped over the desk. The moment the words left my mouth, Lu Yan, who had just been stubbornly keeping his eyes shut, snapped them open. Instantly. "Don't go." Lu Yan grabbed my wrist, his eyes red-rimmed. "Please don't go. I'm begging you." The tone in his voice was one I'd never heard from him before. Was it desperation? Even when creditors held a knife to his neck back in the day, Lu Yan never begged them, yet today, he's pleading with me in this tone not to leave. Before I could even process the shock, Lu Yan pulled me down onto the booth seat, buried his head against my chest, and held me tight. "I can't let you go. I could never let you go in this lifetime. What would I do if you left, Anning? I work so hard because I want to give you a good life. I want to have a child with you, so you won't want to leave anymore. Do you know, every time I come home and see you waiting for me, it makes me so happy. I love you so much. I adore you so much. Why can't you just turn around and look at me?" Lu Yan was rambling on, and I felt a dampness in my chest. Lu Yan is crying. Lu Yan likes me. Lu Yan has always liked me. Before I could even process the shock, a sharp pain hit my abdomen. My face turned pale, and I instinctively tried to push Lu Yan away, but sensing that I wanted to push him away, he held me even tighter. I gasped, my face turning pale. "Lu Yan, I'm pregnant, and my stomach hurts." Hearing this, Lu Yan suddenly looked up, his face filled with confusion. "The doctor said I have a risk of miscarriage and need to focus on preserving the pregnancy, requiring a week of bed rest." After the doctor gave some additional instructions, he finally left. Lu Yan, standing by the bed, looked at me lying on the bed for a while, then said, "I'm going to wash my face." When I was alone in the ward, I gently placed my hand on my abdomen. "The doctor just said I've been overworking myself. It must be due to all the running around I've been doing lately." I gently touched my lower abdomen. "Baby, I'm sorry. Mommy hasn't been taking care of you lately. You have to hold on tightly to mommy. I will definitely protect you." Well, from now on I was just about to doze off again when Lu Yan returned. The alcohol smell on him had mostly dissipated, and his eyes were clear. "Lu Yan, I need to use the bathroom," I mumbled drowsily. Since getting pregnant, I've gone from never needing to get up at night to having to do so once or twice. "Okay, you stay still, I'll carry you." Lu Yan immediately got up, awkwardly bending down to try and pick me up, but he was afraid of hurting me in several different positions. Finally, he gently picked me up. After using the restroom, I felt a bit more awake. "Do you want some water?" Lu Yan asked. "No, thanks." I shook my head. "You'll need to get up to use the bathroom more frequently." Lu Yan remained silent for a moment before finally speaking up. "Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant and still propose a divorce?" Lu Yan asked, seeing Lu Yan's wrinkled suit and slightly disheveled hair. I suddenly felt a pang of, "Well, that's because I thought you didn't like me. And we're still hung up on that by Ning." I pouted, my voice growing more and more pitiful. "If you don't love me, why should I stay with you? I could just take the money, raise the child on my own, and live a perfectly good life." "No." Lu Yan's gaze burned into me. "I won't let you leave, Anning, not unless I'm dead." He took my hand. "I mean it." I was at a loss for words. Lu Yan seemed to realize something and shot back. "How do you know by Ning?" "Me? Could I really say I had him thoroughly investigated before the wedding?" "I'm getting a bit sleepy," I said, closing my eyes and pulling the covers up, shutting out the world. Lu Yan gave a soft chuckle. Without asking anything further, he reached out, took my hand, and laced his fingers tightly with mine. "Darling, let's make this work from now on, okay? If I ever do anything wrong, just tell me straight, and it's not what you think with Bai Ning." That night at the party, I only called her out to the terrace to tell her to stop spreading rumors. It's not like that between us. From the very beginning until now, there's only ever been you. I want us to be good together, for this lifetime to be good, for the next lifetime to be good, and the one after that. and the one after that, Mr. Lu, why are you so talkative today? I couldn't help but laugh, opening my eyes to look at Lu Yen, seeing that I wasn't pretending to sleep anymore. Lu Yen smiled too. From now on, let's live our lives well. He leaned down and kissed me. I looked at Lu Yen for a moment. Okay, Ms. Chiu. Arrived the next afternoon, carrying a bunch of bags. At that time, I was lying in bed, while Lu Yen was reading a prenatal storybook with exaggerated emotion. It was that awkwardness of speaking in a stiff voice while trying hard to sound emotional. I asked him to stop, but he insisted that he had researched it, and not only would it serve as prenatal education, but it would also help the baby get familiar with his voice, so that once the baby was born, he could soothe it without it crying. I had no choice but to let him go. Oh, my dear, let me take a look. Ms. Chiu put down what she was holding, cupped my face, and kissed my forehead. You're amazing, my dear. I was used to Ms. Chiu's enthusiasm, but Lu Yen wasn't. He frowned, wiped my forehead with a tissue, and reminded her, Mom, this is my wife, me, Ms. Chiu. After staying in the hospital for a week and things stabilizing, I was discharged. Now that I've talked it out with Lu Yen, there's no need for me to carry those burdens alone. I chose the right moment to tell Lu Yen everything. After hearing this, Lu Yen pondered for a while. I understand. I'll handle it. Don't worry about it for now. Lu Yen held me in his arms, gently stroking my back to comfort me. Leaning against Lu Yen's chest, I felt for the first time what it was like to have someone to rely on. Lu Yan's methods were more effective than mine. Instead of wrapping things up immediately, he increased the stakes, prompting An Hechuan to mortgage his company, house, and other properties. He was also investigating the events of that year. He said that even though time had passed, there would always be traces left behind. I entrusted everything to him with complete peace of mind, focusing on my pregnancy. As for the matter concerning Chuju, I also cleared the air with Lu Yen. It was a heartfelt crush, but it's over now. Yet, Lu Yen still feels a bit sour. Lu Yen shielded me from all the storms outside, allowing me to focus my energy on the baby in my belly. 4 months have passed in the blink of an eye. Have you found out if it's a boy or a girl yet? My best friend asked me as we browsed the baby clothes in the Actually, Ms. Chiu has already bought so many of these things that the nursery is packed full. But not only her, I also love shopping for clothes for the baby in my belly. Picking them out always brings an indescribable sense of happiness. No, but I think it's a girl. I lovingly touched my still not very noticeable belly. Speaking of daughters, my best friend said angrily, have you seen that news online? There's a guy who said it was unlucky to have a daughter and even claimed he couldn't be bothered to name her. My best friend rolled up her sleeves, her face full of anger. What kind of guy is he? If I weren't in Chongqing, I'd go to his shop every day and curse him out. What's wrong with having a daughter? I love daughters. Isn't he the product of a woman? Why does he look down on women like that? And it's the man who determines the gender of the child. How did someone like him slip through the cracks of 9 years of compulsory education? When my best friend and I talked about this, both of us were extremely angry. In the end, even the staff at the baby store joined in, and everyone started shouting and cursing at that man. As women, we feel heartbroken and sad for the wife and daughter in this situation, and we look down on that man. It was well past noon by the time my best friend and I stormed out of the baby store, both of us looking furious. As soon as we stepped out, my best friend came to a sudden stop. She immediately turned back to look at my belly, then covered her mouth with a horrified expression. Oh no, I wasn't paying attention and cursed a few times. My best friend half bent over, addressing my belly in a panic. Baby, please forget what you just heard. Auntie promises to be more careful and never curse in front of you again. I burst out laughing and nudged my bestie. All right, let's go. She'll forget all about it once she's born. That's not necessarily true. Prenatal education, you know. I ran into Bai Ning again during dinner. I happened to be wearing something quite fitted, so my stomach was quite noticeable when I sat down. It seems she has become a bit haggard after not seeing her for a few months. She stared fixedly at my stomach, making me feel a bit uneasy. My best friend immediately switched seats to sit next to me, blocking her view. Bai Ning looked at her best friend, glanced at me a few times, gave a cold smile, and then turned and left. At that moment, I felt the baby in my belly move gently, but it was so fleeting that I almost thought it was a figment of my imagination. My best friend kept a wary eye on Bai Ning until she left, then turned to look at me, as I was cradling my belly. Are you okay? You look unwell. My best friend asked with concern. No, I think I just felt the baby move, I said. Oh, really? Let me see. My friend stared excitedly at my belly for ages. Even after all the dishes were served, the baby inside didn't budge again, playing it cool during the meal. My friend reminded me to keep an eye on Bai Ning, as she had just noticed Bai Ning giving me a rather unfriendly look. I took my best friend's words to heart, but I didn't expect Bai Ning to act so quickly. As soon as my best friend and I stepped out of the restaurant, Bai Ning lunged at us. Knife in hand, a chorus of screams erupted around us. My best friend instinctively shielded me and we ran together, but Bai Ning was much faster than us. It's all your fault, you're the reason A Yan left me. Bai Ning's face twisted into a grotesque mask, her expression utterly deranged, as if she'd lost her grip on reality. And you're pregnant. How dare you get pregnant? A Yan won't even see me now. How could you be pregnant? That should be my baby. Clutching a knife, Bai Ning advanced towards me with a terrifying, chilling purpose in her stride. The moment she raised the knife, someone intercepted her, blocking the strike before forcefully kicking her away. The knife flew from her grasp. It's Chu Ju. Ignoring the injury on his arm, Chu Ju's first reaction was to pick up the knife, then run over to check if I was okay before stepping forward to restrain Bai Ning. Bai Ning was pinned to the ground, still spewing curses, looking utterly disheveled. She was a completely different person from the elegant and poised woman I first met. I clutched my stomach. Still shaken, someone in the mall called the police, and security arrived quickly. I was taken to the hospital first for a checkup. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong, just a bit of a scare. Lu Yan and Ms. Chiu arrived just as I had finished my examination. It was the first time I had ever seen Lu Yan's face turn pale. Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Lu Yan carefully checked me for injuries. I'm fine. Ting Ting protected me just now. Really, I'm okay. I forced a light tone to put Lu Yan at ease. Lu Yan let out a small sigh of relief and thanked her best friend. Her friend gave an awkward, dismissive wave. Mrs. Chiu didn't say anything, but her expression showed both deep worry and anger. Finally, she patted my back and said, "What matters is that you're safe. Let's go home first. I'll handle everything else." "Mom, Ian, I want to go see Chu Ju," I said, giving them a brief rundown of what had happened. It said that Chu Ju's arm injury still needs stitches. He saved me, so I can't just not go see him. I'll go with you. Lu Yan supported me and said, when Lu Yan and I arrived at the emergency room, Chu Ju had just finished getting stitches. "Hey, are you okay?" I genuinely didn't want to see him, but my gratitude was real. If he hadn't stepped in today, I can't even imagine how terrible the outcome could have been. "I'm alright, just a scratch." Chu Ju's lips were pale, but he forced himself to sound cheerful as he spoke to me. "Thank you so much for today," I said sincerely. "It was nothing, really, don't mention it. I'm just glad you're okay." Chu Ju smiled, revealing a set of pearly white teeth. I was at a loss for words, unsure of what else to say, when Lu Yan gently steadied me by the waist and said to Chu Ju, "Thank you. If you ever need anything in the future, don't hesitate to ask." Watching Lu Yan's intimate gesture toward me, Chu Ju gave a bitter smile, a clear look of disappointment in his eyes. "Alright, I'm fine. You should take her home to rest. Spare the injured man the sight of your public displays of affection. Have a heart," Chu Ju said with forced lightness, pointing at the bandage on his arm. Even though Chu Ju said it wasn't necessary, Lu Yan still asked Wang Zhe to come over and help look after him. He took me home, while Ms. Chiu went to the police station to handle the matter. That night, I inevitably had a nightmare. I woke up clutching my stomach, shaken to the core and drenched in cold sweat. Lu Yan held me, gently stroking my back to soothe me. I took the chance to have a good cry and let it all out. After crying, Lu Yan poured me some warm water to drink, and then wrung out a warm towel to wipe the sweat from my face. When I lay down again, Lu Yan held me in his arms, his voice choked with emotion. "I'm sorry. It's because of me that you've suffered so much." I was utterly exhausted and drowsy, so I fell asleep without responding. The next day, I heard that Bai Ning's parents had rushed back from abroad and presented her medical records, stating that Bai Ning had bipolar disorder and that's why she did those things. Her parents even went to Lu Yan's company to harass him, playing the emotional card, saying that they were at least once boyfriend and girlfriend, invoking the old saying "one night as husband and wife is 100 days of grace," and demanding that he drop the lawsuit. Got scolded by Ms. Chiu, who pointed her finger at my nose. Ms. Chiu said that Bai Ning immediately broke up with Lu Yan as soon as he went bankrupt, leaving without hesitation. It would have been understandable, but when Bai Ning saw that Lu Yan had risen again and made the Lu group even better than before, she had the audacity to come back asking for a reconciliation. When Lu Yan refused, she threatened to kill me, using her alleged bipolar disorder as an excuse. Ms. Chiu said that if everyone could use illness as an excuse to kill, set fires, and do whatever they wanted, wouldn't society descend into chaos? She would absolutely never drop the charges. Instead of wasting time throwing a tantrum like this, you'd be better off hiring a proper lawyer to figure out how to fight this case. Not only that, But when Chuju's mother found out her precious son had been hurt, she aggressively hired an entire legal team, vowing to make Bai Ning rot in prison later on. It was said that Bai Ning was indeed sent to prison when I was 5 months pregnant, and Hequan went bankrupt. Lu Yan not only helped me get my company back, but also all the houses, land, antiques, and jewelry my grandfather left me. The rest, you don't need to worry about. I'll handle it. Just focus on having a smooth pregnancy, Lu Yan said to me while carefully applying pregnancy oil to me. The baby in my belly gave him a gentle kick. It's the first time she's moved in over a month. Lu Yan and I both stared in surprise at my belly. The baby is very lazy. She hasn't moved at all in 5 months. For a while, I thought something was wrong, but the doctor said she's just lazy and doesn't like to move, and she's perfectly healthy, so we shouldn't worry, honey. Did she just move? Lu Yan's face flushed with excitement, ignoring the fact that my belly was still greasy. He gently pressed his face against it to listen, leaning back on my hands. I looked down at Lu Yan's excited face, then glanced at the sunlight streaming through the window. It'll be okay. Everything is moving in the right direction. The next afternoon, I came across a major news story. I clicked on it. It was about An Hechuan. He had killed Lu Jun. After a moment of stunned silence, I called Lu Yan. His end of the line was noisy. When he heard my question, he fell silent for a beat, then asked how I knew. I told him the news had broken. Lu Yan paused, then told me to stay home and not go anywhere. He said he was on his way back immediately. It wasn't until Lu Yan returned that he finally told me the inside story. He had intended to keep this from me, worried that hearing such news while I was pregnant wouldn't be good for me. He never expected I'd see the news report. After An Hechuan went bankrupt, Lu Jun filed for divorce. An Hechuan, of course, refused to get rid of him. Lu Jun told him outright that neither An Yu nor An Bo were his biological children, and Bo is 6 years old, the apple of An Hechuan's eye, born to him in his later years. He dotes on the boy like a precious treasure, handling him as if he might break, cherishing him as if he might melt. Now Lu Yan told him that the 2 children she gave birth to were not his. How could he bear it? Even Lu Yan, in an attempt to provoke him into divorcing her, directly revealed how she had drained his money over the years to support her young lover. Lu Yan only wanted a divorce and didn't want to be burdened, but she didn't know that An Hechuan was so ruthless that he killed her with a kitchen knife, leaving no intact body behind. An Yu and An Bo had already been arranged by Lu Yan to live in another house, so they survived the tragedy. Lu Yan also told me that when my mother had a fatal childbirth, it wasn't just Lu Yan's doing. An Hechuan was involved too, and even my grandfather's death was connected to him. However, these are still under investigation. After hearing this, I was left in a state of shock for a long time. Is this karma? I dreamed of my mother the next night. She still had the same gentle and beautiful appearance as she did back then. She was wearing a white dress, holding the hand of a little boy. I cried and threw myself into her arms, calling her mom, saying how much I missed her. My mom coaxed me like she used to when I was little, smiling and saying, "You're about to be a mom yourself, yet you're still so childish." She said she was leaving, that she had seen what I did for her, and she hoped I could let go of everything and be happy from now on. She said she would be watching over me from heaven and not to be afraid. With one arm around me, she gently patted the little boy's head and said to him, "This is your sister." My last dream was of that little boy hugging my leg and sweetly calling me sister. Then I woke up with a start. My face was covered in tears when I woke up. Lu Yan was anxiously looking at me, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief when I woke up. He said I had been crying nonstop and wouldn't wake up, and he was so worried that he was about to take me to the hospital. I looked at Lu Yan holding those medical records and my coat, laughing and crying at the same time. Now that everything has been settled, it turns out that my mother and grandfather's deaths were indeed connected to An Hechuan. Back then, An Hechuan was a penniless young man. Seeing that my mother was an only child and naive, he went to great lengths to win her heart. After successfully marrying into the family, he became insatiable, gradually seizing my grandfather's fortune. When my grandfather discovered his actions, he orchestrated an accident to kill him. After my grandfather passed away, he openly brought Lu Jun and An Yu, whom he had been keeping outside the family, back home. My mother was pregnant with my younger brother at the time, sinking into a deep depression day after day. Her labor was exceptionally agonizing, and it was then that Lu Jun and An Hechuan made their move. Before An Hechuan was executed, he sent word that he wanted to see me. I only sent him a copy of my household register, which bore my new name, Tang Xingwan. Tang is my mother's surname. Xingwan is the name my mother gave me back then. As brilliant as the stars, it's not too late for the evening. I changed my surname, and I changed my given name. My maiden and Quan lose the thing they valued most in this life. He was left without an heir. 4 months later, I safely gave birth to a son. It wasn't the daughter I'd always dreamed of, but a son. At the corner of his eye, just like the little boy in my dream that day, was a tiny vermilion birthmark. Gazing at the tiny, wrinkled bundle in my arms, tears of pure